Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can actually be lonely. You can feel like more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything. In a moment, you're going to hear me coaching a former Navy SEAL. He comes in with a challenge he's facing, and I choose not to answer the question he has around this challenge, and I take him deeper. And in about 10 minutes, he has a really powerful insight, which means that he can handle the challenge anyway. And it's an insight around what it takes to be a person with a point of view. If you want to be successful in this world, if you want to be a coach who has a community, who builds an audience, you have to be willing to have a point of view. And it's scary, and it feels challenging, and it feels edgy, and most people aren't willing to play that game. If you want to have a point of view, if you want to be known, if you have a mission that is important to you, then listen to these next 10 minutes. Well, hi, Christopher. Thank you for trusting me today. And you know the question I'll always ask is something around, how can I support you? So in this moment, what's going on and how can I support you best?
The way you can support me best is I woke up 2 weeks ago to a message from one of the people on my team that said, hey, there's a negative feedback on your Amazon page for your book. And I was like, really? And I went there, and one of the guys that I talk about in the book, in fact, the only person who I actually share their name, was a really dear friend of mine. And I got his permission, and I told a story. And I used analogies that he misinterpreted and took the wrong way. And he blasted me all over the Amazon review. And I was like, I just felt like a knot in my stomach. And I went to reach out to him, and I couldn't get a hold of him because I think he's blocked me on his phone because he's so offended by what I wrote. So that, of course, was hurtful. And, every day I think about it a little bit. So I don't really know where to go from here.
Yeah. Well, let's find out. You remind me when my book was published. Steve Shana, I wrote this book. It got published, and we got quite a bunch of positive reviews, and we got 2 really scathing reviews on the same day, a couple of weeks after it was published. And I was mortified. I was horrified. And I spoke to Steve, and Steve laughed and said, well, now we've made it. If people are criticizing us, now we've made it. And it was still challenging. It's still painful to this day when I get criticism, but it really helped me understand that if you're willing to put a stake in the ground, if you have a point of view, some people won't like what you have to say. And the reason most people won't have a point of view is it's too damn scary to have one.
Okay. My wonder is because this person has been such a good friend to me for so long, is how do I go about talking with them? Because I want to go straight at the point that they're speaking to. And for me, it was like, look, you're my friend. If there was a discrepancy, you can call me. If you found something that you didn't like, it's easy for me to go in, call up the publisher and go, hey, can you change this sentence to this sentence? But he didn't do that. He took and made it public. And I mean, I've known this person since I was 20 years old. So we're talking 32 years. And this is what I would consider my best friend in the SEAL teams. And so that's the part that, yeah.
So I don't want to get it too quickly into ways that you could reach out to him. There are ways that you could do that. I want to stay with this idea around having a point of view and being clear. There was no ill intention behind what you wrote?
No, none.
I've got no doubt you stand behind what you wrote. You may have rephrased it if you got a call from him. You may have said it differently. You may have, in the context if he felt a bit awkward or embarrassed, you may have anonymized him and made a different name up. But I've got no doubt you stand behind the principles you were sharing in that story.
1,000%.
Yeah. So you've got to stay with that bit for a bit longer. You are a man who has a strong point of view. You have a background from serving in the SEALs to training for the Olympics to wrecking your body in the process to spending 20 years studying Eastern medicine and Western medicine and helping thousands of people redo their bodies so that they show up without the stress they've spent years putting in.
Yep.
And that's taken years of deep training for yourself, lots of learning and study. You're in the midst of finishing your PhD right now, your doctorate, and you're a man with a point of view, and it will upset and offend some people. If you want to be more known, there is more of this coming at you. Next time, it won't be a friend who's misunderstood. It will be someone who's a doctor or someone who's been doing this for 20 years and disagrees with you. Mm-hmm. And so this is honing your capacity to put a stake in the ground and stand strong, even in the face of challenge.
Mm. Okay. I hear that. Yeah, there was a part of me that wanted to take it down, like call Amazon and get that all sorted. And then another part of me was like, maybe conflict will make it more interesting for people, right?
No doubt.
Yeah. They may read the book because of one of my friends is in the book, because now they're like, well, what did he say, right? And then I think as they go through it, they'll be able to formulate their own opinion, which is they'll understand where I was coming from.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it stay there. And I'll take some action when it feels right.
Yeah. There are ways that you could communicate with him. I've got no doubt. I don't want to get into that right now. Mm-hmm. When it's time, you'll reach out and you'll let him know. Actually, with Amazon, I can change the text of that book in minutes. And so let's have a conversation, because I feel bad that you feel hurt, and we can see what we can do. That was never my intention. But I don't want to get into the solution of that. Mm-hmm. That will happen when it happens. And maybe he'll never be open to having that conversation. That one's out of your control.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting. I had some very strong opinions with a guy that was like a brother to me in boarding school. And I shared that with him. I wrote him a letter, and I got sort of the same thing 15 years ago. And I guess it's just that thing that when you grow and you move into another, a new way of being, and you step forward, that people are going to fall away. And you're right. I actually have no control over that.
Yeah.
I can inform him and let him know what we can change in minutes. And then, and he can go from there. But the relationship after that, my sense, would probably never be the same. And I have to live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, for the amount of people that the book is serving powerfully, it's 1,000% worth it. And so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay.
So let's pause in this moment. It's the power of coaching around insight that I share with my community all the time, that we're here right now. We might choose to continue talking in a second, but we don't need to. What we didn't do is solve the problem that you came into the room with. That I have no doubt you could have solved on your own if needed. We went to what the bigger issue is. And for me, as I watch you as a man who is a man on mission and a man with a point of view, we need to build your muscle, your capacity to be in the face of the storm, where people may not like. If you have a point of view, particularly in the field of health, there are people who have very strong views. Whatever your point of view is, someone is going to come up with a different opinion to that. And so this is your training. The biggest gift he's just given you is he's helped you build your muscle to be in the face of criticism or someone not liking you, and knowing that your mission and your message are important enough that it's worth staying strong. So now I know we're there. That's it. We're there. Christopher, thank you for trusting me, my friend.
Thank you. That was, I've been struggling with that for a couple of weeks, and it's been on my mind whenever I've not been doing something. It's been creeping in.
Yeah.
And okay, so rather than go to Amazon and complain and have them take it down, I'm actually going to let it stay there. Yeah, I'm going to let it stay there, because that's proof that I'm standing strong for what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to put everything and every relationship on the line in order to serve powerfully.
Beautiful. So in this moment, will you say the name of your book?
The name of my book is Free for Life.
And
a U.S. Navy SEAL's path to discovering inner freedom and outer peace.
Beautiful. I highly recommend it. It's a very powerful story. It starts right back in Christopher's childhood with some of the really challenging situations he went through, and all the way through his training in the Navy SEALs, training for the Olympics, and what he's learned about stress and how to take yourself into a new way of showing up in the world. Christopher, thanks for trusting me, man.
Oh, thank you. You're amazing. I really appreciate you and how you show up for every one of us in the community, and how you're showing up actually for everyone who's in your larger community outside of 4PC. It's very powerful. I'm amazed by you, man. You're the word for you from me is awesomeness.
So just so you know, if you're listening, there's a part of me that wants to edit this out. And this is my podcast to be serving Christopher and not the other way around. And it's very uncomfortable to, as hard as it is to receive people knocking us down, Christopher, sometimes it's even more challenging to be able to receive acknowledgement. So I'm standing here in the discomfort and receiving. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching. It was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.